Greetings, my fellow human beings. We are live. This is Live Free or Die, and I'm your host, Eli King, new king of alternative news here on your Manhattan Neighborhood Network. This is the People's Network. Damn it. Not the Banksters Network. This ain't the mainstream media. Get ready to hear some real news. POW flag is up. POW hat is on. So today, you know what that means. We honor the POWs before we get to news, of course. And before we get to our actually one POW, because we have actually just one official POW that is being held prisoner by Afghani so-called al-Qaeda Taliban people. But before we get to that, I went out and I purchased this hat. And then a good friend of mine, he stopped me. He says, "Were you in the service? You can't wear that hat." And I say, yes, I'm in the service. Actually, I'm in the service right now. Yes. He goes, "Oh, what branch?" I go, "I'm in the militia." That's right. Even though it's illegal to start a militia here in New York, I'm going to start one anyway. And even though we don't carry guns and I am the only member, yes, my militia is the Blood of Patriots and Tyrants Militia of New York City. And if you want to join me, you can just email that address right there, or I'll throw up my P.O. box at the end of the show, and you can mail me via U.S. Postal Service. That's right, this is the militia of blood, the blood of patriots and tyrants. I said it. I'm all in. And also, now let's honor some POWs. Now, we got a lot of POWs. Before we get to our official one, we got a lot of POWs that have been forgotten. But you have not been forgotten in my eyes. All the guys that were left behind in Korea, all the guys that were left behind in World War II, all the guys that were left behind everywhere, especially in Laos and Vietnam. You know you left those bastards behind. Just look up the Nixon-Henry Kissinger report. You'll see what I'm talking about. Leaving our guys behind in Laos because you wouldn't pay some money. And then what about all the other prisoners of war, the prisoners of the biological war, AIDS? That's right, I said it. When they released the AIDS virus in the 1978 experimental hepatitis B vaccine, you guys are all prisoners of the biological war, the AIDS virus. What about the prisoners of the war on drugs? With these illegal Rockefeller laws they put in place, when they put in these illegal drug laws in 1930, when they got rid of prohibition because they needed something new to bring in to make profit off of the black market because they didn't have liquor anymore. Those prisoners of war that are in there, the whistleblowers that are in jail right now, the truth seekers that many people don't even know their names, I honor them. I honor all of you. You are not forgotten. Now, let's honor our official prisoner of war, Sergeant Bo Bergdahl from Idaho, who is being held in Afghanistan right now. And all these Taliban bastards want are 5 Taliban bastards from the Guantanamo Bay, and they would give our boy back. But Senator John McCain, who was a prisoner of war himself, says, no, we don't negotiate with terrorists. What if it was you, John McCain? Yeah, you would want them to release those prisoners so you could bring your ass home. On top of it, you covered up all the people that were left behind in Laos and Vietnam and Cambodia. You're a coward, John McCain. Yeah, you were a prisoner of war, but once you came back home, you sold out your friends. You are a piece of scum garbage. You are a piece of maggot-filled elephant, donkey, excrement, piece of crap. Excuse my language. John McCain is a coward. I said it. Now let's honor Bo. People don't know, yes, we do have a prisoner of war in Afghanistan. Here he is. That is Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. He is a POW. Missed very much, especially by his parents. These are his parents waiting for him to come home, waiting for him to be released. And John McCain will not negotiate. Isn't that something? Well, I honor you. I honor you, Sergeant Bo Burdog. Come home. Come home safe. And we'll be waiting for you. A lot of controversy behind this. And everyone needs to speak up and demand that this man return home safely. Call John McCain's office and tell him that he's a terrorist. Release 5 measly guys to get one of our guys home? You won't do that? This guy's been held for 3 years. Don't trust this government. See, our government is good, but the people who have taken it over are bad. They are run by the International Foreign Federal Reserve banksters. So don't think I don't love my country. I love it to the fullest. Anyway, now that we have honored our POWs, let's get on to news. Excuse me. Everybody's heard of this Batman massacre. Well, we got an article from Natural News from no other than Mike Adams, the health ranger. And he says, Batman movie massacre, a reflection of violent video games. TSA violence against citizens and psychiatric drugging of young white men. The medical student James Holmes of Aurora, Colorado, reportedly opened fire on moviegoers who had filled a theater last night to watch a newly released Batman movie and an orgy of violence and Big Brother propaganda, dressed in riot gear and wearing a gas mask that resembled a fictional evil character, Bane, depicted in the movie itself. Holmes burst into the theater and began shooting moviegoers, injuring 50 and killing 12. The Psychiatric Drug Connection and Columbine 2012. That's right, this was actually like miles away from Columbine, where those 2 kids shot up the high school who were also on psychiatric drugs. This is what many people forget to ask when they learn of such massacres. You know, no gun pulls its own trigger, people. And the mainstream media routinely fails to mention psychiatric drugs when it comes to these mass shootings. All they do right away is, let's take the guns away. Well, had one person been armed in that theater, I think he would have took them down. We'll get more into that later. And also, these psychiatric drugs are affecting so many people and making them do so many things. Also today, more U.S. soldiers die from suicide than from combat because they're on these psychotropics, make them crazy. And the U.S. government teaches violence and engages in violence at every level. Virtually everything the government demands of its citizens is done under the threat of violence. Don't want to have your child subjected to chemotherapy? You will be arrested at gunpoint. Don't want to vaccinate your children? You will be rounded up like cattle and forced to vaccinate at gunpoint. That's not violent? Huh. Remember your oath, people. Remember your Constitution. Military personnel. Next article, still by Mike Adams from naturalnews.com. Colorado Batman shooting shows obvious signs of being staged. That's right, his behavior doesn't add up, Mike Adams says. His behavior already reveals stark inconsistencies that question the mainstream explanation of events. For example, he opened fire on innocent people, but then calmly surrendered to police without resistance. This is not consistent with the idea of killing everyone. Furthermore, then he admitted to the police that his apartment was booby-trapped with explosives. If you were an evil-minded joker trying to kill people, including cops, why would you warn them about the booby-trapped in advance? It doesn't add up. Holmes was taken into custody shortly after the shooting, police said, adding he didn't resist when he was arrested, reports local CBS News affiliate. Holmes was clearly provided with exotic military gear. There was pictures inside of his house. Also, one rifle, two handguns, a knife, a bulletproof vest, a ballistic helmet, a gas mask, a gas device, military SWAT clothing. Unidentified explosives were also found in Holmes' car. A law enforcement and sources told CBS that Holmes wore a gas mask, a ballistic helmet, a vest, as well as leg, groin, and throat protectors during the shooting. In other words, this guy was equipped with exotic gear by someone with connections to military equipment. SWAT clothing, explosive, all of the above. So this seems like a staged event, if you ask me. And mystery man, Holmes has no background. On top of this, Holmes apparently has no background. It says he's not on anybody's radar screen or nothing, said a peace officer in a New York Times article. This guy is somewhat of an enigma. Nobody knows anything about him. And just like I was saying, this seems staged just in time for a vote on the UN Small Arms Treaty. If you don't know, here in New York in the UN, they're having they're going to vote on a small arms treaty that will basically ban or abolish the Second Amendment. Something to that effect. Now, what a coincidence, huh? And now you got Emperor Palpatine, Mayor Michael Bloomberg, that scumbag, saying just hours after this is why we need to get rid of the guns. Mr. Obama and Mr. Romney need to take into consideration onto how to abolish our Second Amendment. You see? And I know, I'm Bloomberg right now. I know that a lot of people like the Second Amendment, but what if this was to happen to your child? Yes, because there was a 6-year-old child in the theater, and I believe they were either wounded or killed. Well, and he goes, if this was to happen to your child, then you would have a different opinion on the Second Amendment. You would want to ban all guns. Well, Mr. Mayor Bloomberg, I have a 6-year-old child, and if that was to happen to my child, I would come to you and say, listen, you bastard, if I was allowed to arm myself because I am a law-abiding citizen, then I would have been able to shoot that crazy psychopathic bastard down myself. Let the people protect themselves, okay? Guns don't kill people, people do. A lot of friends out there. My friend Taz would still be alive he'd been able to arm himself. Except some coward pulls out a gun instead of using his fist and blows his head off. Now what? Bloomberg, you are a scum. And he's all this propaganda about taking everybody's guns is right in time. This article, actually, our next article, came out last week, Saturday, July 14th. And it was written by Alex Jones from Infowars.com. And the title is Emergency Alert. UN set to ban civilian gun ownership. The United Nations agenda for disarmament goes beyond the rhetoric. The UN Arms Trade Treaty being debated in New York this month. The globalists want a total weapons ban so they can kill innocents without opposition from the local populations. Crime rates soar whenever guns have been taken away. It's simple victim disarmament arithmetic. Look at all the uncovered martial law revelations. Troops have been trained to confiscate guns inside America, and it actually happened after Hurricane Katrina. While the politicians have been priming the nation to grudgingly accept new firearms restrictions. Yes, Katrina. Remember Hurricane Katrina? They had law-abiding citizens way above the floods and living in their mansions, and the army came by and took their guns away. They were registered. They had licenses for their guns. They had the right to protect themselves. The army came by, handcuffed them, took them away, and didn't give them back. They're probably in their collection right now. And also, I saw footage of an old lady, a granny. She must have been like 75 years old. the cops and everybody comes in to see if she has food, and she's like, yeah, I'm good. I got all this food. I got all this water. I even got my revolver to protect myself because, I'm a registered gun owner. They all looked around at each other, and then, bam, they sack her to the ground. Old lady, bang, 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 bang. Put the beats on her, handcuff her, take her gun, drag her outside. That's martial law for you. They're coming for your guns. So don't sit at home waiting around thinking you're going to be all right. Bury them. You better come up with some plans, people. And let me go through some, this is called the genocide chart. In history, whenever a government goes around taking people's guns, a genocide follows. For instance, in Turkey, during the 1915 and 1917, they had issued a gun ban. Permits required, government list of owners, ban on possession. And the result of that, 1.15 million people died in 2 years. Because once they take the guns, then the genocide starts. Soviet Union, 1929 to 1945. 20 million people were killed by their own government after they took the guns. Nazi Germany, 20 million people. They were requested to register and licenses and stricter handgun laws and ban on possession. So in the result, 20 million people died. Political opponents, army, Jews, gypsies, and critics. China, 1927 to 1949. Mao Zedong killed 10 million people when he banned on the private ownership of guns. He put a ban on the private ownership of guns. Red China, all the way to 1976. Basically, China in the total probably killed about 50 million people once they banned the guns. Guatemala, 200,000 people from the years of 1960 to 1981 when they had their arms treaty implemented. Uganda, 300,000 people from 1971 to 1979 were killed. Cambodia, 1975 to 1979, 2 million people were killed in Cambodia when they issued licenses for guns, owners, ammunition, and transactions, photo ID with fingerprints, license inspected quarterly. And last but not least, Rwanda, 1994. The Tutsi people, 800,000 of the Tutsi people were killed because they were required by a 1979 decree law, number 12, to register guns, owners, ammunition. Owners must justify need, concealable guns illegal, confiscation powers. So therefore, nearly 1 million Tutsi people were executed. And the truth they cannot refute, Death by Gun Control delivers the essential and gut-wrenching truth that the anti-self-defense gun control advocates never try to refute. They simply cannot refute the facts of this formula. Here's the formula. Hatred plus government plus disarmed civilians equals genocide. Running out of time, so let's move on to the next article. There you go. And even John Block wrote a book. It's called, it is statistically proven that when people have more guns, there is less crime. More legal owned guns, not illegal guns, legally owned guns, there is less crime. All right, let's move on to our next article now. Alternative media blows the lid off of Big Pharma's massive bribery network. Two of the most influential alternative media organizations on the net, Infowars.com and naturalnews.com, have blown the lid wide off on Big Pharma's massive bribery network through the exclusive interviews with Big Pharma insiders. Everybody knows that these pharmaceutical companies like, what's the name over here, Glaxo. Basically, here's the question. Is your doctor accepting bribes to pimp out your body to Big Pharma? According to court documents already described at naturalnews.com, GlaxoSmithKline alone had Speakers Bureau network of 49,000 paid speakers. Those are 49,000 doctors and physicians who knowingly and willingly accept kickbacks and bribes to push GSK propaganda in the form of medical education. So when you go to the doctor and you got a little bit of whatever trouble, here, take this Livox or Prozac or whatever, it may help that certain condition, your heart, but it's also going to kill your kidneys or kill your liver. So then you need another medication to help that. It's all a racket. It's all a scheme. Just like the AIDS, this new AIDS medication that's coming out. I read in Tuesday's paper, there's this new AIDS medication that will protect you from getting AIDS. And it's so wonderful. Forget about that. Let's think about the cause and the effect of AIDS. Okay? And the effect of cancer. And the effect of all these diseases that they basically created, these monsters. So when you go to the doctor and he starts pimping these drugs to you, say no. Go towards the more natural alternatives. Herbs and spices and what the Indians used. They lived to like 100 years old, those guys. You know why? Because they got stuff from Mother Earth, not from Mother Chemical Lab Company, synthetic, biometric, genetically modified crap. All right, banksters laundered money for drug cartels. This is our next article. Well, if anybody didn't know this, come on. You know what? I want to take some calls. If I can find the number, it's 212-245-7273. That is 212-245-7273. We are live. 212-245-7273. Saturday, we're live. Call me up. Banksters laundered money for drug cartels and Al-Qaeda. In a testimony before the Senate's permanent subcommittee. Hold on, I'm waiting for my pal to call. In a testimony before the Senate's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, David Bagley, a compliance officer for the HSBC Holdings, said the bank ignored warning signs that violent drug gangs in Mexico suspected terrorist financiers in the Middle East. Yes, the banksters launder drug money, and the government brings in the drugs so they can catch you with it and lock you up in their jail. If you didn't know, get a clue. Caller, you were on the air. State your name and where you're from.
Okay, I'm originally from Long Island, but I'm living in South Carolina now.
All right, what's on your mind, brother? Talk to me.
Okay, I'm listening to all this garbage about gun control, okay? I lived in New York, and then I moved to South Carolina. In South Carolina, we do not have a problem with gun control because everybody has a gun. So we have no problems with crime, none. The women as well as the men, both of them, both sexes are taught how to use a gun. And in fact, the police chief down there, when I took my concealed carry permit, sat us down in a room with about 50 people and started to say, your home is your castle, the castle doctrine, and if you find someone in your castle, shoot them.
Magna Carta,
absolutely. Big mouth from New York said, yeah, that's okay, till the lawyers get a hold of you. And he came back and said, well, you shoot that guy and we'll worry about the lawyers. And this is the problem that nobody brought up. Had there been, and I don't know if they had been a number of people in that theater in Colorado with a permit, concealed carry permit, I doubt that you would have had that carnage that you had last night. Because when I go out, and I go to any place like that, I do have my concealed carry gun on me. And I can guarantee you, if there were more than 10 or 20 or 30 people carrying in that theater, that guy would have went down a lot quicker. So Bloomberg can talk about gun control, because if you're Bloomberg or you're Howard Stern or anybody else in the city of New York, Yeah, you can get a gun. You can get a permit because they walk around with bodyguards. We don't walk around with bodyguards, so they can pontificate all they want. The problem now is when you take the guns away, like Hitler did, and you said yourself, when they start taking the guns away, that leaves the door open for anarchy. Then you got people coming in, dictators coming in, and it's easy to just go over and look at a list and say, yeah, this guy has guns. I have a number of guns, and I'll be damned if anybody's going to take my guns away, because someday we may have to protect this country. And if we don't have the people that are willing to lay down their lives, and I'm going to be 74, and we're not willing to lay down our lives to protect our Constitution, then it's going to be thrown away in the garbage. Now, I hate to say this, but I've read a lot of books where what they call black flag incidents. These are incidences that they do something like this. I don't say that this is a black flag incident, but they want to take our Constitution. The president then would take the Constitution and declare...
Absolutely, sir. Listen, we are out of time. That was a great call. I really appreciate it. We got about 30 seconds left. Call back next week. You made some very great points. I really appreciate it. Like I said, we're out of time. Hit the P.O. box if you want to join the militia. This is Live Free or Die. That guy was on the money, knows what the hell he's talking about. God bless America. God bless the Constitution. God save it. And if you have received this transmission, you are the resistance.